Have you noticed? Some things seem to happen just to you. A delay that makes you cross paths with someone. A strange dream that keeps repeating. A feeling that the universe is trying to tell you something, and you still don't know what it is. But now you're here. And that's not by chance. The universe doesn't send signs for nothing. It speaks to those who are ready to change. And if you clicked on this video, it's because something inside you has already started to awaken. Forget the idea that everything is random. It's not. There's an intelligence operating behind the most trivial details of your life. A force that sends messages all the time, but only the initiated can hear. And when you learn this language, nothing is ever the same again. In the school of the ancient alchemists, this was called symbolic reading of reality. And those who learned to decipher the signs activated their own transmutation. They stopped playing the victim and became masters of their own story. This video will open your eyes to the secret language of existence. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll understand why everything that has happened so far had a bigger reason. And even more, you'll discover how to activate the code that was hidden inside you all along. So pay attention. The universe has already started talking to you, and it wants to transform you. That which we do not face within ourselves, we end up encountering as fate. The symbol isn't outside waiting to be deciphered. It's like a secret mirror that only reveals itself when you're ready to truly look at yourself. There's no point in looking for signs in the sky, in the cards, in numbers, in the stars, if you haven't yet made an internal decision to move toward your own transformation. Because symbols are like lights lit along the path, but they only make sense to those who have already started walking. Think about it with me. A traffic sign is only useful to someone who has a destination. Someone without direction, someone living on autopilot, will look at the same symbol and see nothing. They'll pass by without noticing. They'll laugh. They'll doubt. They'll call it coincidence. They'll say it's just all in their head, because the symbol, no matter how clear, stays invisible to someone still stuck in immobility. And why does this happen? Because the symbol isn't a thing. It's a bridge, a link between the visible world and the invisible, between what you live on the outside and what's ready to awaken on the inside. And this bridge only appears when you decide to cross. It's like a portal that only opens for those brave enough to go through. This is where many people get it wrong. They think they'll see it to believe it, that the signs will convince them to change. But it's the opposite. First you decide. First you set yourself on the path. And then, yes, the universe starts to respond. The signs appear because your vibration has changed. Because now you're tuning into another frequency. A higher, more conscious frequency, more aligned with who you came here to be. And here's an important point. A true symbol never points to the ego. It never validates escape. It never serves as an excuse for complacency. It doesn't say, stay as you are. It says, you can be more. It invites. It nudges. It moves. Every true symbol is pointing toward your best version, toward the fullness of the human condition. And what is that fullness? It's when you begin to embody virtues, when you choose truth, even when it hurts, when you practice good, even without applause, when you seek balance, even in the midst of chaos, wisdom, justice, presence, compassion. All of these are expressions of the awakened soul, and these are the qualities that life's symbols want to activate in you. That's why a symbol is not an easy answer. It's a deep proposal. It doesn't give you a shortcut, it shows you a path. And more than that, it reveals what's out of harmony within you. It shows you where you're still denying your own light. It illuminates the shadows you don't want to look at. It's like a magic mirror that says, you want to change the world around you. Start here, inside, because there's no symbol that can save someone who hasn't yet decided to save themselves. The universe can send 1,000 signs, but if you don't want to see, you won't see. You'll call it coincidence. You'll say it has nothing to do with you. You'll keep going on autopilot. That's why the symbolic language is reserved. It's not secret out of malice. It's veiled out of respect. Because only those who have chosen to grow have the eyes to see it. Only those who are tired of just surviving and truly want to live. Only those who have understood that they can't keep pretending they don't hear the call. And when you understand this, something inside you starts to change. Your whole life stops seeming like an unfair battlefield and starts revealing itself as a precise school. A school that knows you better than you know yourself. That knows exactly where your wounds are, your blocks, your unresolved fears. And this is where the pedagogical language of existence comes in. Life doesn't punish. Life teaches. And it teaches with the patience of a silent master who repeats the lesson as many times as necessary. The same situation comes back. The same type of person appears. The same pain shows up. Because you still haven't understood. Because you still haven't seen what you needed to see. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, said that nothing happens to a man that is not part of human experience. This means that every experience you live is shaped just for you, tailor-made. It didn't come by mistake. It came because you, on some deep level, attracted it. Not out of guilt, but out of a need for growth. It's as if you came into this world with a secret curriculum, a soul program, a set of experiences that your consciousness asked for before incarnating. You came with specific points to develop: patience, courage, detachment, self-love, self-responsibility. And every scene in your life is built around these invisible goals. When you complain about something that keeps happening to you, maybe you don't realize that it's not life chasing you, it's life teaching you, and it insists because it loves. It doesn't punish you, it shapes you. But it won't stop the lesson until you show you've learned. This might seem harsh at first, but it's liberating. Because when you realize this, you stop feeling at the mercy of the world. You take the reins of your inner journey. You look at a frustration, a rejection, a loss, and instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" And that's when life changes its tone. Because now you're no longer in the role of the victim. You're in the role of the awakened learner. And when that happens, the same events take on a different meaning. What used to be pain becomes a portal. What used to be confusion becomes a code. What used to be punishment becomes a healing tool. Nothing that comes to you comes by chance. And if it comes, it's because there's something to be revealed. But there's more. Because when you ignore the first lesson, when you pretend it's not about you, when you refuse to look deeply, life turns up the volume, and what was once a whisper becomes a scream. It's what many call the shake-up of destiny. That extreme situation that forces you to stop. The illness, the breakup, the bankruptcy, the emotional crisis. None of this comes out of nowhere. These are marked cards from a higher pedagogy that you didn't want to read in the first class. It's life saying, "The time has come, now you need to see." And this isn't punishment. This is a call. A call for you to wake up from the anesthesia, for you to break out of the numbness of autopilot. Because if you didn't listen to the signal, life will knock at the door. If you didn't open, it'll knock harder. And if even then you pretend you didn't hear, it will break down the door. Synchronicity, when the universe shakes you by the shoulders. And when that scream from life finally hits you, it doesn't come disguised anymore. It comes straight, no sugarcoating. It shakes you by the shoulders and forces you to look. You might even try to ignore it, rationalize it, say it was just coincidence. But deep down, something inside you knows. That was for you. That was a sign. It was the universe saying, "Wake up, now." That's exactly where the phenomenon of synchronicity is born. Carl Jung called it meaningful coincidence, an experience where two or more events connect so precisely, so specifically, that logical explanation just can't cover it. There's no apparent cause between the parts, but there's meaning. There's a message, and you feel it in your body. It's like time stops for a moment and says, "Look at this closely." Maybe you're thinking about someone you haven't seen in years, and that person calls you that same day. Maybe you're unsure about a choice, and suddenly you hear someone saying exactly what you needed to hear, out of nowhere, on the street. Maybe you're lost, and a song, a phrase, a butterfly, a repeated number, a word in a randomly opened book gives you exactly the answer you couldn't find on your own. There's no way to explain it, but you know it touched you, that it was for you, that it was tailor-made. And this isn't delusion, it's not self-deception, it's not superstition. This is synchronicity. And the more you awaken, the more it shows up. The universe starts talking to you on another frequency, as if it's saying, "You're paying attention now. So let's deepen this dialogue, because I have a lot to show you." But there's a detail almost nobody tells you. Synchronicity isn't just poetry, it's an urgent message. It shows up when you've taken too long to understand the subtle signs, when you've already ignored the slight discomfort, the recurring dreams, the internal warnings. It's when life realizes you need a stronger push, because you're stuck at a point on the path where you shouldn't be anymore. And that's when coincidences become too powerful to be coincidences. In the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, Santiago starts noticing the signs of the universe when he decides to follow his dream. He meets people along the way who tell him exactly what he needed to hear. He witnesses events that prepare him for the next step. But everything only starts to happen when he makes the decision to act, to change, to obey the call. And when he hesitates, the universe sends new signs, with more intensity, with more urgency, because that's what synchronicity is. It's the soul of the world trying to remind you of your purpose. Jung believed that the collective unconscious manifests through these events, that there's an invisible web connecting all things, and that when you align with your journey, that web starts responding to you. As if the universe conspires in favor of those who have finally begun to truly listen. Because when you start seeing these coincidences, a new level opens up, and this new level reveals to you a hidden pattern, a repetitive cycle that you need to break for real transformation to happen. And when that new level opens, what used to go unnoticed starts to shine with a different light. It's like your eyes shift focus, as if the ordinary reveals its true nature, sacred, symbolic, revealing. Life stops being just what happens outside and starts showing itself as a living language that manifests in the details. And if you pay attention, you'll notice it speaks all the time. It speaks in the pauses, in the simple objects, in the small scenes no one notices. The universe doesn't always choose big events to communicate. Many times, it prefers the smallest ones. A glass that falls, a delay in transport, a flower growing through a cracked sidewalk, a storm at the exact moment your mind goes into turbulence, a puddle where you see yourself reflected without meaning to. Life's language is poetic, but precise. It's symbolic, but direct, and it's everywhere. There's an old teaching that says nature never wastes a moment. Everything that exists has a reason to be where it is. Every stone on the ground, every falling leaf, every sound of the wind, all of it carries a vibration that dialogues with the present moment. If you're attentive, you'll feel that something wants to be said. Not with words, but with presence. I remember a real story, simple but powerful. A woman, in a moment of doubt about her life, goes out to the backyard after a heavy rain. She sees the water pooled in a corner, forming a dirty puddle that refuses to go down the drain. She tries to push it with the squeegee, but the water slips away, runs to the sides, returns to where it was. That's when she understands. The water is like her mind. If she doesn't guide it with intention, with direction, with clarity, her energy will flow to the lowest places. And that said everything about the moment she was living. It was life speaking through a puddle of water. How many times have you received messages like that and ignored them? A book that fell off the shelf, opening to a specific page. An animal that crossed your path at an important moment. A common object that suddenly seems to carry a much bigger meaning than it should. That's not superstition. That's symbolic language in action, and it strengthens the more you allow your consciousness to actively participate in the now. Because it's in the now that life reveals itself. The paradox of yellow butterflies, when fantasy sabotages alchemy. And it's precisely when you start seeing the world with symbolic eyes that a new danger quietly approaches, disguised as spirituality. It's the point where many get lost thinking they're awakened, when in fact they've only swapped raw ignorance for refined illusion. It's the moment when the mind, clever and proud, hijacks life's signs and starts using them as a shield. The symbol stops being an invitation to transformation and becomes an excuse to change nothing. This is the paradox of the yellow butterflies. A young guy, smart, with all the tools to grow, gets a concrete job offer. A real chance to mature, contribute, break out of stagnation. But he refuses. And the justification is almost poetic. While reflecting on the decision, he saw a group of yellow butterflies passing by the window. And since butterflies symbolize freedom, he felt that the sign was the universe telling him he should stay free, not tied to commitments. Sounds beautiful, right? Sounds aligned with the language of the soul. But in reality, it's just the ego dressed up as mystic. The human mind is a voracious creator of stories. And when it wants to avoid the discomfort of change, it becomes a specialist in building convincing narratives. It distorts. It fantasizes. It turns real symbols into justifications for staying exactly where it is. And then the symbol, which should be an arrow pointing upward, becomes an argument to stay on the ground. This is the most dangerous point of the symbolic journey, when you use the sacred to protect yourself from the pain of growth. When you don't want to face your laziness, your avoidance, your procrastination, and then you interpret the signs in a convenient way. You start saying it's intuition, that it's respecting your process, that it's connection with spirituality. But in truth, you're just avoiding the next step. And the symbol becomes fantasy. The call becomes denial. The butterfly becomes an excuse. The subtlest part here is that this doesn't happen because the person is bad or dishonest. It happens because they haven't yet been properly educated in symbolic language with maturity. They confuse everything they feel with truth, everything they want with direction, everything that relieves with enlightenment. But the true symbol will never point to the ego. It will never reinforce comfort zones. It will never say, "Stay as you are." The legitimate symbol is demanding. It pushes you. It confronts you. It reveals a path that demands virtues you haven't yet mastered. And that's exactly why so many abandon it halfway through. Because it's easier to fantasize a sign than to face a real call. It's easier to project desire than to embrace the pain of transformation. You only start reading symbols correctly when you're willing to hear what you don't want to hear. When you're prepared to be uncomfortably honest with yourself. When you stop using spirituality as an argument to run away from life. At this point in the journey, the question isn't, "Is this a sign?" but rather, "Is this symbol calling me to be someone better, to break free from what limits me, to face what I've been avoiding?" If the answer is yes, you're on the right path. If not, Maybe it's just the ego disguised as mystic, whispering excuses that smell like incense. Because not just any interpretation reveals the truth. It's the honest, disciplined gaze that knows how to tell fantasy from calling. The butterfly may even pass by your window. But if it's serving to keep you where you are, it has stopped being a symbol. It's become a trap. And this is where many fall without realizing it. Because here comes the secret key of the alchemists, the criterion of the human ideal. Realizing that the true symbol always points to your elevation is already a sign that something is changing inside you. And it's at that moment, when you decide to really listen, that reality starts to show the difference between those who fulfill their role in the great cycle of life and those who live trying to manipulate the game. Nature never makes mistakes. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't force time. It fulfills what it came to fulfill. No excuses, no detours, no self-deception. This is Dharma. Observe the strength of a storm. It doesn't ask for permission to happen. It comes, cleans, shakes, rips away what needs to fall, and in the end, reveals a new landscape. The trees bend and then rise again. The heavy clouds make way for a clear sky. Even in the midst of destruction, there's a beauty that can't be ignored. Because nature, even when it roars, doesn't leave its center. It obeys the order of the cosmos. It follows the wisdom that came before us. It doesn't need to learn Dharma. It is Dharma in motion. Now look at what human beings build. In the eagerness to protect, to dominate, to profit, they disconnect. They build crooked buildings, rush cycles, forge paths based on haste and vanity. A newly built work already shows cracks. A project is born with the look of ruin. And it's not bad luck. It's karma. Karma is not punishment. It's a natural consequence of acting out of tune with inner truth. It's the direct result of following the ego instead of consciousness. It's when the human stops being part of the order and becomes resistance to it. When we act without listening to the symbols, without feeling the rhythm of the soul, without understanding that each gesture shapes our frequency, we end up creating an artificial life. And what's artificial will eventually collapse. How many times have you felt like that? In the middle of an inner construction that seemed solid, but suddenly crumbled. A relationship that seemed like love, but was attachment. A job that seemed like a mission, but was a prison. A path that seemed like evolution, but was just repetition. All this is the effect of karma when we ignore Dharma. But this pain doesn't come to punish. It comes to reveal. It's at this exact point that true alchemy begins. And no, it doesn't start with gold. It starts with lead, with the density of your life, with what you wanted to avoid, hide, or forget. The great transformation doesn't begin when everything is clear. It starts the moment you finally look at the chaos and decide to decode it. It's when you accept seeing meaning in the pain. It's when the symbol is no longer just an external puzzle, but an internal mirror. That conflict, that repetitive pattern, that anguish that keeps coming back. All of that is raw material, and alchemy begins when you stop running and start asking, what is this trying to teach me? The 7 levels of the symbol, the path to the plane of ideas. The same image, the same scene, the same word. But something has changed. It changed because you changed. What once seemed like just a detail now pulses like a calling. The true symbol is never flat. It's deep. It's a staircase inside you. And Helena Blavatsky made this clear. Each symbol is a hidden dwelling with 7 doors, 7 levels of understanding, 7 layers of consciousness. Each one only reveals itself when you climb a step within yourself, it's not about interpreting with the mind, it's about accessing with your being. The symbol doesn't give you everything at once because it's pedagogical. It teaches as you become capable of understanding. A symbol that once seemed beautiful later confronts you. Later still, it guides you, and at the right moment, it heals you. It doesn't change. What changes is your vision. These 7 doors are not external. They're in your vibrational field. Every time you transmute something inside, a trauma, a belief, a pain, a new layer opens. You start to sense that there's something beyond form, beyond the surface. And that perception doesn't come from the intellect, but from the soul. It arrives like a deep silence, a light shiver, an "I already knew" that comes without words. The symbol speaks in a living language. It transforms in real time with your evolution. What was metaphor becomes instruction. What was a doubt becomes direction. And suddenly, everything around you starts to organize symbolically. Life becomes an open book written in codes, but only those prepared can read it. Only those clean enough inside to not distort what they receive can access it. Because each symbolic layer is also a test. The first door shows what moves you emotionally. The second, what challenges you. The third, what demands action. From the fourth on, you begin to disappear as an ego and see the symbol as something that flows through you. Something that transforms you even if you don't want it to. Something that shows you that the meaning of life isn't in the answers, but in the layers of presence you build with them. And when you finally cross the 7th door, not in a rush, not with pride, but with alchemical humility, the symbol no longer speaks to you. It inhabits you. It becomes you. It's no longer about decoding. It's about being. At that point, the true alchemist stops being a seeker of signs and becomes a sign. The work completes when you stop living, trying to interpret the world, and start being a presence that transforms the world just by existing. You don't force, you don't teach, you don't impose, you embody. And what is embodied vibrates, and what vibrates awakens. You become a living verb. Your voice shifts frequency. Your silence carries weight. Your actions start to align with what you are inside. You no longer need to convince anyone. Your life is the proof. Alchemy stops being a theory and becomes your way of breathing, walking, touching others. Your existence becomes a mirror, and just by existing, you awaken those around you. This is the most hidden secret of the great work. It's not for you. It moves through you, and it overflows. Alchemy doesn't want to make you special. It wants to make you a channel, a passage point between the invisible and the real, between what is above and what is here, between the idea and the action. When that happens, even your past suffering gains new value. You understand that every pain was a reagent, every mistake, a furnace, every fall, a fusion. And what's left is no longer ego. It's essence, it's presence, it's pure symbol, vibrating in living flesh. And now that you've started to awaken this language, it's time to activate the next hidden code of inner alchemy, a code that can't be taught, only experienced. Click on the video on the screen. Thoth has already revealed what the next step is, and if you've made it this far, it's because you're ready. And if you felt that this video found you at the right moment, then tell me in the comments. What was the strongest sign the universe ever sent you? The one that marked you, woke you up, made you look inside? I read them all, and you can be sure. Sometimes, your experience is what activates another person's awareness. Oh, and if you want to help this channel reach more seekers like you, there's a direct support link in the first pinned comment. Every contribution helps spread more light, more awareness, and more content like this out there. The universe has already spoken to you today. Now, it's your turn to answer. Let's go together. And before you leave, pay attention. I've set aside a special video for you to take the next step on this journey. It's showing up on the screen now. It's the natural continuation of this awakening, and it could open doors you never imagined. Click there, and I'll see you on the other side.